Proverbs 27:1. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Welcome to My Dead Brothers podcast. This show is about that journey, seizing the day, the people, the moments, and the circumstances around us. Tyler Bolken talks about grit, grace, gratitude, and the gospel inside us for others. The 4 G's. Tyler is a man of faith, a family man with 3 kiddos, a Marine Corps veteran, and an amazing storyteller. It's time to seize the day. This is My Dead Brothers podcast, and this is Tyler Bolken.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 1. I'm so excited that you've decided to tune in today wherever you're at. We are live from Phoenix, Arizona, where it is fall, and we had another 103-degree day. That's fall in Arizona for you. And whether you're at the gym, on the road, or at your office, I'm just so privileged and honored that you've decided to take time out of your day to listen to this podcast. And, the one thing that I will say to that, the value that I hope you're able to gain from that with tuning in here is that, the goals and the mission of this podcast, I'm going to dive right into it, are to inspire vulnerability. And what I mean by that is I really want to foster that ability to talk about what's most difficult, to allow ourselves to channel what we feel is weak, but is often our strength. And, I think that is a moment where we just have a fogged judgment. We don't necessarily understand what's going on, and we recluse, we go to this dark place. And I want to, really allow ourselves to feel encouraged and to open that conversation. And, each conversation that we have on this podcast, I'm going to open up with a question to allow us to really ponder that and to talk through, to kind of just reflect on and answer throughout. And I'll be providing my answer at the end, and it'll be an instance where I encourage, the listeners to respond with their response on social and email, wherever they feel fit. And that's going to be, one thing that we recur is just starting with a question. And the question for this first episode is, how do you face fear? And that's kind of a difficult, deep thing, right? Like, there's levels of fear. There's people around us, there's circumstances. And there's not always the perfect, most comfortable response for that. And, I think that with that, let's kind of dig deeper into this conversation, this dialogue. And one of the primary goals and purposes of this podcast is to really break down those barriers that sadly start to become societal norms, about, what we hold in and what we let out, and, what's strong, what's weak. And, I think that is a very interpretive viewpoint. And, I'm going to have guests on. I'm going to share my story, and, we're really going to kind of unravel that and, find out what it means to ourselves, what it means to others, and how we can really be strengthened and encouraged through our own story, through the stories of others. Because I think that our personal story, it's so much more powerful than we realize. And, I think that, with that story aspect, right, the most difficult part, it's always hindsight, right, is we tend to look back and talk about the growth that we experienced from that. Oh, I didn't realize how hard that was and how much it grew me with whatever attributes or qualities that means. But, let's think less about hindsight. Let's think more about, the moment, and really living and thriving in that, and allowing ourselves to be powerful then, not to just be in this sulk of, this weakness and this, deprived state that there's often a good reason for, I won't dismiss that, but gosh, if we can just channel that and move that forward, and that's going to be one of the pivotal, goals and missions of this podcast, is to really open that dialogue and that conversation, and with that, I think that one of the biggest experiences for me, which really is the premise of this podcast. It's called my Dead Brothers podcast, right? And when I lost my brother, gosh, almost a year ago, last October of 2019, that is, one of the most difficult things you can hear, some of the most difficult news you can receive. And in that moment, gosh, I didn't know what to feel. I don't know if I felt anything, to be quite honest. It was just this fog, this darkness that I didn't expect. I didn't know what to think of it. And one of the things that I'm grateful for is, in that moment, I was coaching a flag football team, and I was the head coach. And my brother passed on a Friday night, and I had to coach the flag football team the next day. And in that moment, I had spoken with family, and I knew that, I was going to get back to Idaho as quick as I could, and I wasn't going to be making that flag football game the next day. So I had to, communicate that accordingly, and I called the assistant coach, and I had initially kind of just, kept my bearing and let him know that I wouldn't be able to make the game tomorrow. And, there was a part of him that just kind of felt that emotion that clearly I was evoking on the phone, and we continued to talk, pretty just open conversation, right? And it came to a point where he asked me, so like, hey, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Are you going to be able to come back and coach, And I just felt this, these arms that were coming around me over the phone. And I told him that my younger brother had passed away. And gosh, it was hard to say out loud. This was such a fresh, vivid thing. And at the same time, there was great strength in it. And, what his response was to me was that his brother had passed away almost a year earlier. And gosh, did I know that was going to be the conversation? Did I know that was going to be the outcome? Absolutely not. And I say that just because the power and strength that he gave me in that response, that I was so afraid to share and talk about, was just it was more than I would have ever understood or could have prayed for. And I think that I say that because I want us to realize, although, you may feel that example is exaggerated or extreme or not relatable to your everyday life, I conscious you to think otherwise, because I think that with what we go through and experience, whether it's a difficult day at work, whether it's a tough day with our kids, with the day they had at school, or, the variety of hardships that we encounter, there is a purpose greater than we know and understand. And with the assistant coach sharing that with me, that was just a catalyst for so much strength that I don't know that he realized. And with moving forward, with okay, so that was a big fire for the strength and the grieving and the podcast, if you will. And I think that all of that right there is just tied right back into the goal of this thing, is that I want us to be able to foster that communication, to be able to demonstrate the strength in that vulnerability, and to allow ourselves to draw strength from others, and to really be that strength when we feel weakest. And and at the end of the day, I think one of the things that I most took for granted were those conversations that I could have with my brother so regularly, whether it was, after one of those long days, after, a few tough weeks or a month, or, however often we talked. He was a rock for me in more ways than I could have ever understood. So another big catalyst for this podcast is to selfishly have that therapeutic outlet to continue that conversation. And it's not to say that I don't still reach out and have these conversations with others. I very much do, but I think that where I want that to be a stronger force is to have it shared, to have it be on a public platform, to allow us to experience that together, so that we can take those stories that, my assistant coach shared with me, that who knows could be strength for so many others. And, that's really a pivotal goal here. So let's talk about the name, right? My Dead Brothers Podcast. That's, it's pretty blunt, right? And, I wish I could say that I sat and thought about that from a marketing standpoint, from a, some place of like this great draw of proudness. But, to be honest, I was sitting at my desk about 6 months ago and wasn't even thinking about the podcast. I was in the midst of work, and it just popped in my head. And I don't know if that was Cody, and I don't know exactly what the, spirit, if you will, was that brought that on, but it's been embedded in me. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the relation to what the message was I wanted to share. It really grew within me. And the name, it's blunt, and life is beautiful, and I firmly believe that we can't have the beauty in life without the bluntness of life. And, I think that that's sometimes difficult for us to comprehend. We're experiencing these difficult times, and we always have this desire to quickly move on to the next thing, like let's get to the better thing. And I really conscious us to think about those blunt experiences and what they mean for us moving forward. And I think that what it does for us is it allows us to, experience the beauty more freely, more openly. It allows us to see it in a way that we wouldn't have otherwise appreciated before. The bluntness exposed that. The bluntness brought the light of what we didn't see and realize. And that's another big part of this show that I want to be revealed is the light, because we often just stay in the darkness. We resist the willingness to, come out of that. I'll feel better when I feel better. I'm not going to take that action or be proactive to do that. And that light can really be difficult to let in. And I really hope this show, and I firmly believe that this show will be that light. So the question is, how are we going to accomplish that, right? Like, great, that sounds good, Tyler. How are you going to bring us out of this light? You got flashlights, you got ring lights, Yeah, I got a few tools. But at the end of the day, we're going to learn those things from one another. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, the experiences I've had or the life I've lived is any different or worse or better than most. I'm very humbled in that respect. I've had my fair share of difficulties, but I know that at the same time, I'm very gracious for the life that I live. So the structure that I've came to that we're really going to, stay dialed in on throughout the podcast is talking about 4 things. And I think that they are so symbolic to, every facet of our life. And those 4 things are grit, grace, gratitude, and our gospel for others. And let's dig a little bit deeper into that. We're going to break each of those down. So let's talk about grit, right? We've all got those unique qualities and experiences that make us different from others. Whether it was let's just say on the hard side, a broken household, or a career that didn't turn out the way we wanted, or potentially disappointments in all different walks, right? Those are the things that we don't often like to share. And on the contrary, we've got these great successes and these great rewards that were the direct product of grit. We did something that either somebody else didn't want to do, or we were just willing to get that blood, sweat, and tears to accomplish. And with that, what grit means to me is it's not just that blood, sweat, and tears. It's that blue collaredness. It's that innate desire to accomplish what somebody else is telling us we can't. And sometimes it's even as simple as demonstrating that grit through picking up the trash on the ground that somebody else left behind. And I think that that's kind of a isolated example, but we are allowing ourselves to show these qualities that we're given that somebody else wasn't willing to, right? That's in a nutshell kind of what it means to me. And with that, I think a direct product of our grit is grace. And that's the next pillar, of the 4 G's that we're going to talk about. And the grace translates through grit by those experiences where we were either shown grace from the circumstance or the person around us while experiencing that grit, or potentially we had the willingness to show grace for others. And that is a difficult thing to do, whether you have had somebody turn their back on you, or maybe you were jaded to an experience that really limited that ability to both receive and give grace. And I think that we often show it more than we realize, and we definitely receive it. Let's be clear on that. All of us receive grace each and every day we breathe air on this earth, and I think that that's also a part we need to, verbalize and be more understanding of, the fact that we don't accomplish anything often without the, support and grace from others. And that just, segues into gratitude, right? You guys start to see a trend here. I'm really going to try to allow, each of these episodes to be a storyline that translates this way. And the gratitude is understanding that grace and really allowing yourself to just understand it and verbalize it, because verbalizing it is so powerful, because what you are enabling through doing that is you're allowing others to have that hope, that belief that they can accomplish something, that they may be capable of showing that grace for others. What's that saying that, don't ever judge somebody that, you don't know what's going on in their life that day. I probably just butchered that, but it's along those lines. And, I think that's so true. And the better we can become about verbalizing that and sharing that energy, it not only gives us great power, but it strengthens, the power of others. And that's going to be a big message that we try and tap into with guests and the stories that I share. And that's a big part. And I think that to close out the grace portion, I think that, one of the people we can show grace to most is ourselves, right? I think that we have a tendency to be so hard on ourselves, almost unrealistic. And, we're always thinking about optimizations, right? Like, okay, I got this, but I need this. What's the next big thing? What does my friend have that I don't have? And, we kind of just go into this pit of not having contentment. And I really want us to, be able to talk about that reality of what we do have, and having the gratitude to just appreciate that and allow ourselves to, receive more, but not seek more. And that's going to be a big part of this. And, with those three pillars, right? So far we've talked about grit, we've talked about grace, and we've talked about gratitude. Okay. So how does that move into the next echelon of the 4Gs, right? Well, it's the gospel. And, I think that with the life that we live and the life that we experience, we've all got gospel, for others, and I think that with that, I really want us to feel empowered, to not underestimate the power of our word, the power of that assistant coach, having the willingness to, bring back a very difficult experience that he had and to allow himself to be such a strength for me, right? And I couldn't have predicted that would have been the occasion, but his message, his voice was so powerful for me in that moment. And I know that is a capability of all of us. And, I think that with the guests, with myself, with, the deeper we dig into this, we're going to really be able to learn and explore that on this podcast. And, I think that, taking it a step further, guys, I just, going back to that therapeutic part of this, right? Like there's always a with them, what's in it for me, right? I'm not going to shy away from that. Guys, the grieving and the experience of something difficult is, it's hard to put into words. And, I have those days, where I want to just call Cody or have that discussion that, we had so many times before. And I'm just so grateful to start this and to have you guys on with me, because I feel that power to really talk about this and to just dig into the grit, the grace, the gratitude in the gospel, and to share those conversations that sometimes hurt and other times inspire, and really just allow us to grow. That's what we all want more than anything, right? Is that growth and that continued path moving forward, right? And to live that maximum life and all that comes with that. And again, it doesn't just come freely. It comes with the bluntness, right? And the name of this, I'll close on this, you guys, My Dead Brothers Podcast. And I always want that to be the undertone of what our conversation is going to be. It's not always going to be just this glimmer of great light and hope. We're going to finish with that, you best believe. But we're going to reveal where we've had difficulties, where the bluntness lives and sometimes just stops us in our tracks. We're going to get out of those tracks. We're going to keep building that baby, and we're going to move forward, right? And gosh, guys, that's really about it. And thank you so much for tuning in and becoming a part of this journey and this mission with me. And I know that this first episode is kind of short. We're just getting on 23, 24 minutes. And, I just wanted to set the stage. In the future, I'm going to have guests from all walks, whether they're athletes, whether they're, entrepreneurs or everyday Joes, right? Like most of us are. And we're gonna dive into the not so everyday experiences that we all encounter on a daily basis. And I can't wait, guys. We're gonna be digging into those 4Gs: grit, grace, gratitude, and gospel. Thank you again, guys, so much. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I appreciate you. Bye.
You've been listening to My Dead Brothers Podcast with Tyler Bolken. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. Tyler talks about the 4 G's: grit, grace, gratitude, and gospel. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show, and we hope that you were inspired, and we hope we've helped you get in the mindset of not holding back in your life. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at Tyler Bolken and visit the website at tylerbolken.com for more information. Till next time, remember Proverbs 27:1. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. This is My Dead Brothers Podcast.